Go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go.
Hello guys, welcome to the game between Millenium and K1CK eSports in the Open Challenger Series qualifiers of the semifinals. And alongside with me today is Benvarmeren. I'm gonna butcher that quite well.
Jesper Benvarmeren and That's my name.
Yes, alright. And to take a look, it's gonna be quite an interesting matchup in the mid lane. A lot of poke and harass coming out from those two mid lanes between the Nevia and the Orianna. Orianna is going to have a much better time being able to protect herself damage with the command protect. So it's going to be interesting to see how this mid lane turns out. I'm definitely confident that Millenium is going to go ahead and take game one here.
Yeah, Millenium, they have a really nice team composition already. They have a lot of poke, and as you said, they have the Orianna, which is a really safe mid laner. She can keep on farming, and with her auto attacks that deals extra magic damage coming from her passive, she is able to just farm and this mid lane. When you're against a Nivea, you're already forced into a farm fest, and then when you're against a control mage like Orianna, then yet again it's a farm fest. So I'm not expecting too much to happen in the mid lane, but all that's going to happen is going to be farming.
Exactly, and you already see a lane swap coming out from Millenium as they're going to go ahead to the top side. And meanwhile, both junglers and top laners continuing their their run for the jungle camps as they're going to go ahead and get top laners to level 2. Trucks looks a little bit behind as he has not hit 2 yet. K's from Millenium, though, has already hit that level 2 spike, and he's going to go ahead and be able to return just a little bit of advantage.
That is definitely a little bit of an advantage, but it doesn't really matter as both teams, they are preparing to push down that outer turret in their respective lanes. You can see already here on your screen, Millenium are pushing down that outer turret in the top lane. They made sure to prepare the wave, and they have already taken half the health, but also in the bottom lane K1CK, they are responding to that. And now Millenium, they didn't get enough minions there, so they will take it after this first wave. And it looks like K1CK is also going to be able to get the tower. Now, the interesting thing to watch out for is whether or not Millenium is going to give all the gold over to their top laner Case, and if the wave is going to bounce. I think they actually made it bounce in top lane. Yeah, they did make it bounce, so Case will be very safe once the rotating bot lane comes to the top lane, because he's not going to be zoned out as the minions is pushing towards him.
Exactly. You see Joko taking a little bit of a careful time as he tries to steal away this blue buff, but Lachase has every clue that he's there, and meanwhile he's going to go ahead and get collapsed on, but going to be able to escape with his life as he just goes ahead and tunnels away. Got to be very careful about trying to cross jungle camp against a kindred.
Yeah, you definitely have to do that, and you had no vision either, so Lachase was free to steal away that blue buff, and I'm pretty sure that the blue buff did go over to Joko. He did get his own blue buff, so it is an even start, but the experience did also get shared by Lachase and Joko, so Lachase is put a little bit behind. And when you're playing someone like Kindred, you really want to get snowballing in the early game, because you are an AD carry, and if you can snowball, get all the damage you need, the warrior enchantment, then you're also going to have so much damage. But it looks like we're going to have a party in the top lane.
Yeah, exactly. Joko taking quite a little bit of damage from Lachase. And meanwhile, beautiful from Ruckus, as Kaze is going to go ahead and get taken down. Pepe is going to go ahead and pick himself up. First blood. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, though, Hansamama is going to go ahead and pick up a first kill. I'm sorry, I'm already saying meanwhile so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop myself. But Truckluck's going to go ahead and get taken down as he's already finding himself quite behind in CS. And he's also going to be behind as he is going to have to burn that teleport, possibly, to get back into the lane. But he's going to go ahead and decide to take the long journey back. So does Kaze.
Yeah, there's really no reason to use your teleport when the wave is already pushing back towards your enemy. So right now you're able to save your teleport, and there's really not that much of a kill opportunity in the bottom lane for Millenium, as there's only an ignite onto Masterwork, but nothing onto Hans. So if Trulax is able to play really defensive, then it shouldn't be a problem for him to survive this lane. But still, Hans and Masterwork, they've shown that they can definitely put out that damage, and Trulax has to be careful. One thing I'd like to point out is the point I made in the early game. Pretty and Zico, they really want to just farm and scale up, as they're both control mages that scales very well into the late game. And you can already see Zico, he's behind 10 CS.
Yeah, exactly, and that's not going to be too big of a problem, whereas Kepe is kind of keeping up in CS, but they have a turret advantage, so global gold, meanwhile, for Kick. Not too bad, as they're ahead by a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely the turret advantage that gives Zico his way back into the game. Of course, it's not that much gold he lost from being behind in terms of CS, but it's still something. And as he gets that turret gold, it helps him a lot. But Hans, nothing happening in the bottom lane. Actually not Hans going on there, but now Rooks is going on to Masterwork.
Yeah, Masterwork in a little bit of trouble, but you do see that Joko is nearby, and he's going to go ahead and take the Lantern in from the express lane, and meanwhile, Chase also coming in from the bottom side of that jungle. They're going to have a little bit of a standoff. Not much going to go ahead and fall from that team fight. They're going to go ahead and lick their wounds and go back to the laning phase.
And the thing about... Oh wait, actually Kepe going very aggressive onto Case.
Yeah, Case is in a little bit of a trouble. Gonna go ahead and manage to get out alive just barely.
But now Millenium, they will get the second outer turret of the game for their team, so they will even up the gold, just to make sure that they're not that they're even here in the early game. We're not that long into the game yet, so now both teams are even, and for this, that means that Hans, the one who really wants to be making the plays here in the early to mid game, he's going to be able to get his Rune and Hurricane a lot faster than he would be able to if he weren't even. So right now he'll be able to hit his power spikes around the same time that Kepe is able to hit his power spike.
Yeah, Kepe gonna go ahead and pick up the special packages. He's gonna return to that bottom lane along with Trucklegs. What Millenium needs to be careful of is they're pushed in really far, where they don't have an outer turret to work with much longer, as they could be going down quite possibly soon. Their inner's already gone, and that outer is taking quite a bit of damage already.
Yeah, I agree on that, but now we can see Masterwork and Hans, they are moving to the mid lane, but they're going to be spotted by that pink board. And again, the thing about the mid lane is that Zico, he's behind in terms of farm, so I really like this decision coming from Millenium to send people to pressure Zico in the mid lane, because he's already, as I said, having trouble to farm. Oh, actually the Chase is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, but he's gonna go ahead and throw out the Lamb Spike. Does get caught by the hug. Does not get away with his life. Joko gonna go ahead and pick himself up a kill. As meanwhile, Millenium finding themselves in a little bit of a good situation here, as they're picking up the Rift Scuttle.
And with the help of that Rift Scuttle, actually just levels up. But now they will pick up that Rift Scuttle and giving it over to Hans. I like that. I really like that, because Hans, as I said already, he's their mid game to early game. Early game to mid game damage, and when he has that Rift health buff, he's able to keep on pushing, keep on being that threat here in the mid game. So I like that decision, and now Millenium, they just have to play around Hans, and they've already done that by making Pretty play a control mage. So play around Hans and make sure to keep on fighting once Hans gets his power spikes in that Rune and Hurricane. But Zico getting caught.
Beautiful hook coming out. Meanwhile, Masterwork in a lot of trouble. Pick gonna go ahead and put out quite a bit of damage. Zico very, very low as Millenium's gonna go ahead and run this one off, and they're gonna find themselves in a little bit of a troublesome situation as they were able to pick up that Draken though. So not a bad pickup after all.
Not a bad pickup at all, and they get the Dragon. As you said, they don't give up a kill, and they're also able to defend their mid lane out of the turret, so definitely a trade that's worth for Millenium. And I'd like to stress this out, because now you have 6% extra AD and AP, and okay, so going back, Hans, he's there, again, I've said this before, he's their mid-game damage, and he's not building any damage sources, so getting that extra AD is so beneficial for him, but also Pretty, he's scaling, so making sure that she's also able to just scale better into the late game, also into the mid game, so that's really well for Millenium to get that Dragon.
Yeah, but he does pick up a little bit of damage on his first back that he just decided to make. And he picks up the Vamp Scepter, which makes me feel that he's going to go into a Bloodthirster, but he's also going to pick up the Runance Hurricane as well, which is a really favorable build for most of Kalista players. But yeah, the CS lead for Pretty in the mid lane is just surmounting even more over Zico, and that's definitely going to play into the late game, where Pretty's going to have a huge momentum swing for Millenium if they ever find themselves down.
Yeah, as you said, Pretty is really having a pretty big lead here in the mid lane right now over Zico, and with Pretty having that lead, as I said, both mid laners are scaling into the mid game, so now Pretty, he has that Rod of Ages. And it's a very early one, it's 12 minutes into the game, so he's already started to scale. And with an Orianna, getting all that damage is meaning that she's going to be very fast paced, and at some point she's going to be running off with all the damage, and she's going to be able to make this huge Wombo combo alongside Case. And the sooner she's able to reach more power spikes, get more damage, the sooner Millenium are able to overtake this game, and they're already in the driver's seat. They're the ones getting the momentum going for them.
Exactly, and they're just pushing onto this mid lane once again. If they can get the turret though, that's the real question. They were denied last push down, but a beautiful hook coming out from Masterwork. He's going to go ahead and flay them. A lot of trouble for Lachase as he finds himself from the Lamb's Respite. Zico finds himself a kill onto Kaze, but they pick up the turret from Millenium. One member down for a turret, but Flay coming out from Masterwork as Zico is going to go ahead and get taken into the egg form with a beautiful knockup from Ruxu as Kepe picks up a kill for himself, but meanwhile Hans picks up a kill on Zico and Truxlex picks up a kill on a Pretty. A sloppy fight coming out from both teams, but a 2-for-1 plus a turret makes it a little bit more of an even trade. Millenium more or less picking up a favorable trade in that one with the turret.
I totally agree, they get the turret, so it is a favorable trade for Millenium, and they're also able to defend their outer turret here in the mid lane against the Trinity Force power spike hitting Corki. So yeah, they get the best out of that trade, but it was a sloppy fight, and you know, it is the early bird that catches the worm, and in this fight, it wasn't the early bird that really catches the worm, because you got that very good shockwave onto both Lechase and Chico, and that didn't turn out the best that it could. But now with the Dragon respawning in 1 minute and 30 seconds, I could foresee Millenium trying to do something, and they're going to the top lane.
Yeah, but Joko and Kaze, they're going to go ahead and find Truxlex out of position. But Lachase is in the pocket of that bush, and he's going to go ahead and be able to secure a little fortification for Truxlex. As Truxlex is going to go ahead and re-engage. Kepe is here. They're going to go ahead and throw down quite a bit of damage on the Kaze. They do pick up the kill on the Kaze, and they're going to go ahead and take the Lantern out from Masterwork. As they're finding themselves in a little bit of an awkward situation, as they're throwing their lead just a little bit and allowing Kick back into this game.
They're giving up resources, and that's not what they want to do. You don't want to give up resources when you are ahead and have the momentum. So right now they just gave up a lot of that momentum. The steam just went off the kettle, and that's not what you want to do. But here comes Millenium. They don't want to give up this Rift Herald, and they're able to make it reset. So they still have that pressure around the Rift Herald. They get the Skull Crab, and they also have the most wards in the Dragon Pit, as they have 2 pink wards around that area. So they definitely have everything set up. They have the right base ground to go and get that dragon, and it would be the best for them to get that dragon, because you really want to deny that first dragon from your opponent. And there's just so much there's just so much activity around the area of the Dragon Pit right now from Millenium that it wouldn't be very wise for Kick to fight this, as they are behind, but it looks like they want to contest it.
Yeah, and they're not going to be able to contest it at all. Hans picking up the dragon with the Rend. One thing I do want to talk about is the smart play by Kick to not engage and not go for that Rift Herald, because you can play the long con of the 5th Dragon game if you're Millenium, and they do not want to let Millenium play that game at all. They can get out of hand quite fast.
They definitely can, but also a thing I'd like to give them a little bit of credit about is the fact that, yeah, you said that they shouldn't let them play the 5th Dragon game, but you weren't able to contest that dragon at all because you were against Hans, and Hans, he's a Kalista. Kalista has a Rend, so that basically means that you have 2 smites on your team of Millenium, and with only 1 smite being on the side of Kick, it would take a good calculation in order to steal that dragon. And even then, stealing the dragon and then being forced to fight afterwards would be a very huge feat for them to achieve.
Yeah, it would be a huge feat for them to achieve. Is they're going to go ahead and try and siege up this mid lane for Kick. They have quite a lot of leaf cleared now, especially with Zico being able to farm up quite a storm with the Rod of Ages and his ultimate. And Kepe has a lot of wave clear on his side as well. So Millenium is going to have to put a lot of resources in defending, because a split push from Truxlex can cause them quite a little bit of trouble. A little bit of a stalemate coming out from this game, as both teams are trying to find an opening, and the opening is really hard to push wide open into this game.
I completely agree about that, and as you said, Truxlex, once he starts split pushing, he's going to be very hard to deal with, especially as Case went for an Iceborne Gondel. So now Case won't have as much damage as he could have had with a Trinity Force, and that's it doesn't really matter too much, because that just means that Case is going for a more teamfight oriented tanky build, which is of course okay, as you have a Rek'Sai jungle who's not really a true tank. Neither is Hecarim, of course, but Joko, he still wants to be more of a bruiser, and that is a little bit of what he went for with that Skirmisher Saber. Now, the thing you talked about, the strategy, is that Zico and Kepe, they have a lot of wave clear, and Millenium, they're not really able to break through that wave clear because their siege aren't good enough to get in and deal damage before the waves are cleared. So you have to play around Case, split pushing, and then trying to do maybe a 1-3-1. You could do that, maybe a 1-2-2, where you would send Kalista and Masterwork to the bottom lane, have Pretty and Joko in the mid lane, and then Case in the top lane as well, just to make sure that there are some pressure everywhere, and to really split all the wave clear from Kick into 2 parts.
Exactly, and Dragon did spawn, but Dragon's going to spawn in quite a bit, about 3 minutes to be exact, but Baron is up, as not really either team in a strong position to be able to take that one without anyone noticing. A lot of wards around that Baron pit, and it's really going to be a risky opportunity to try and secure that Baron. But like I said, Millenium can possibly play the 5th Dragon game. They already got 2. They can look for the Fairy, but that means they would have to give up a Baron entirely, and I don't know if they want to try and contest giving that up for a Dragon at all.
It would be too early to give up the Dragon for a Baron, because you only have two Dragons, so right now all you want to do is get 2 more Dragons, and you would have that around the 34 mark. So if you have four Dragons, you have the power, more or less, to decide whether or not you want the Baron, because then all you have to wait for is the 5th Dragon, and then you can force the team to either fight for Baron or fight for Dragon. And, oh wait, actually Kepe going very aggressive in the bottom lane.
Kepe is going very aggressive, but Joko has the ability to tunnel out. He's going to do exactly that, but Millenium needs to be careful, as Zico is coming back quite well in this CS differential. Not a lot, but he's providing himself quite a bit of resources, being able to have that kill advantage over Pretty.
But the thing about Zico's build right now is that he's going for an Athene's Unholy Grail, so he's delaying his power spike by not getting a death cap or a void stuff. And that just means that he's going to be falling behind in terms of damage in a team fight. His wave clear is going to be good enough. That's not the problem, but he's not going to have enough damage in a team fight. Whereas Pretty, he's going for a death cap right now, and he's going to have enough damage. Same with Hans, who has 2 items right now. He's not delaying his power spikes at all. So Zico, you need to start getting some of your core items, or your team's just going to suffer, because you haven't done a great job of farming right now in this game. And if that continues, then you're not going to get more resources, and your power spikes is going to be delayed even more.
Exactly, and I gotta be wondering what's going through Millenium's mind, is they have not found the opportunity, but meanwhile, I gotta interrupt myself there. Joko taking quite a lot of damage. A lot of bursts coming out from Zico. Zico takes a lot of damage in return from Pretty. A little bit of a sloppy fight, but like I was gonna say, Millenium has not really been able to take advantage of the shockwave, you know, from K's, throwing the ball into K's and just letting K's run into the middle of Kick and just popping the shockwave.
Not quite yet, but this is actually... Oh wait, Case!
Case is gonna have to go ahead and pop the Onslaught of Shadows just to escape with his life. But Hans is taking a lot of damage, but Masterwork, buddy, you are not in a good position. So many members of each side very, very low, as they need to be careful. This next team fight could be critical for the rest of the game.
But this is going to be Kick's outer turret in the mid lane. They forced every ultimate off of the Millenium members, and now they can back off. They got that tower. They finally made their siege work, and the thing is, Millenium, they couldn't have had a better opportunity. All they really wanted to do was to catch Kick out of position. Kick, they just did a really great job of barricading themselves in that mid lane. But the thing was that Millenium, as I said, they wanted to pick someone out of position, and you finally had Kick not sieging and defending their own tower. So you had to look for an engage. They didn't find it, and then that ended up costing them the outer turret in the mid lane. But they got the 3rd dragon of the game.
Exactly, and that 3rd dragon ever so mounting for that 5th dragon scale, is Baron's still up, and honestly, this is starting to turn into a game where Kick has to be very careful of the free dragon buffs. If they give up a 4th, they're going to have to go ahead and possibly make a sacrifice to either steal the dragon or try and pick up the Baron. They're not going to have much to play around if they let the 4th and 5th dragon come into play for Millenium.
They have to fight for the 5th dragon. That's really the most important thing in the game right now. You have to watch out for that dragon counter, because either in 6 minutes or 12 minutes, Kick is forced to fight against Millenium, and that's more or less everything Millenium is waiting for. Millenium, they don't have to do anything. They can see jobs, so they can just keep on slowly choking Kick out of this game. And Kick is starting to group around the Baron. Then they can't start it up, because Millenium, they want to fight, and that's all Millenium are waiting for.
Back then, Kick, the only thing really keeping them in this game is Kepe and Zico with the few kills that they have leading the team of this charge down the mid lane. Millenium has to be quite careful. Hans is really the only strong member coming out from Millenium. He's quite built up a CS lead, but that's gonna not really do him well as he does not have any kills as we come into this mid to late game of 26 minutes.
But the thing is, Hans is still what you need to play, what you build your team around for Millenium in here in the mid game. So it's great that Hans is doing so well, and now they have actually out-rotated Kick and they're putting down damage onto that inner turret in the middle lane. But here comes Rooks and the teleport from True Glass.
I want to just touch on that beautiful shockwave coming out from the backline by Pretty, but I do have to say that was amazing. But Hans picking up a kill on Zico, Joko picking up a kill on Ruckus, Masterwork picking up a kill for himself as well, and it's almost a clean aces. Lachase has got to get himself out of there, but a turret and 4 kills compared to 1 for a Kick. A beautiful, beautiful job coming in from Pretty. As you know, it didn't seem like he did much, but the shockwave onto the back line to keep the free members of Kick away from that fight for just a couple of seconds was exactly what they needed, as they could focus all their attention on to the targets ahead.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about. Millenium, they were just waiting for an opportunity to fight Kick. Oh, Pretty!
Pretty's in a lot of trouble, has to burn the flash.
And the
Masterwork and Joko are in the wings though, and they're going to have to try and make sure that they do not give up this Baron quite easily to Kick.
Okay, so Kick, they are starting up the Baron, and they're definitely going for it. There's no vision from Millenium around this, and this could turn out horrible for Millenium.
Yeah, but a blue word coming in. Joko gets headbutted away. Beautiful job from Roxas as he denies Joko from picking it up. But Hans picks up a kill on Ruckus as well. Trucklex gonna go ahead and pick up a kill onto Joko as well. Oh, the sloppy fight coming out from Millenium as Kaze is gonna go ahead and get taken down. A shockwave completely whiffing, but Masterwork's gonna go ahead and get thrown in by Hans. Hans picks up a double, but meanwhile Masterwork's gonna get taken down by Kep. And wow, Hans just coming in with a beautiful triple as he just makes sure that Kick are not able to take advantage of the Baron pickup.
Yeah, only 1 Baron buff going over to Kepe. And meanwhile, in the mid lane, the minions was pushing, but going back to that Baron, you can see, the thing is that they did get the Baron buff, they just had to give up 4 kills for it, and it all matters on whether or not they're able to make that Baron buff work, because they have a great siege, they have a great defending team as well, so they could keep Millenium off of their tails for a while, but they can never really fight Millenium, because Millenium is still so far ahead. Even though Pretty doesn't have any kills, he has the sustained damage, he has enough damage to make it work, and it's still all about Hans really keeping up with all the damage. And Case is also starting to do quite a little bit of damage with that Iceborne Gauntlet, but now the 4th dragon is respawning in 42 seconds, and Kick, they have to make a decision. You don't have to fight for this yet, but if you don't fight for it and you give it over to Millenium, then you are still risking the 5th dragon buff, the aspect of the dragon going over to Millenium.
And I think Millenium, though, I'm sorry, I had to cut you off, because I think Millenium has the ability to end this game with just 1 solid team fight. They have a huge momentum with an inhibitor being down, as they can win a team fight and just go in Kick's base and just end it for themselves, and that's what they might do. But Joko gonna go ahead and take a little poke.
And it actually looks like Kick, they want to fight for this. They're going in and they're putting down the vision to make sure that they're safe enough to start this up. Now they're starting it, and Millenium, we might see an engage coming very soon.
Beautiful onslaught of shadows from Kaze. Lot of damage coming down from Millenium as Kick finds himself in a little bit of a trouble. Beautiful shockwave coming out from Pretty as he picks up a kill on Kepe. And Lachase finds himself in a lot of trouble as well. That's a double kill going over for Pretty. That's 3 members of Kick being taken down. As Millenium is just going to go ahead and look to be able to end here, as I definitely think they have the ability to.
They definitely have the ability to. They have enough damage coming from Hans. They have the Ice Bomb Gauntlet coming from Case as well. And this was just a really well played game by Millenium. They slowly choked out Kick. In this game they made sure to scale better. But maybe Trulax and Rooks can do the impossible and keep Kick's dreams alive.
It doesn't look that way though, as Hans Tom is going to go ahead and pick up a kill. That's an ace as Joko finalizes that kill. And that's the Nexus turret going down for Kick as Millenium picks up game 1 of this best of 3.
So as I was saying, very well played by Millenium. They just systematically choked out Kick in this game, made sure to pick up every resource on the way to victory, and ended up scaling so much better than the side of Kick. But the thing I really think is the most important that happened in this game was the fact that Zico was shut down so very hard, because he weren't able to do anything in this game, and he delayed his power spikes over and over again with getting that Fiends and getting the Abyssal Scepter.
Exactly, and pretty much every single lane had a CIS lead except for the jungle. You can't really count that, but every other lane except for top lane, Kaze was the only one unable to pick up a CS lead, but that did not matter. Just the sheer willpower of his tankiness helped them so much pick up a win for Millenium.
Yeah, so very well played. And guys, don't go anywhere, as we will have the second game of Millenium versus Kick up in a few seconds. Go grab some popcorns, go grab some cheese or some wine if you're to that, and stay hacking.